I know you're talking about some of these people who make these videos about dating relationships, marriages, and things of that nature. And it makes you wonder if a person is writing these books, making these videos on marriage. I'm okay with it if you, like I said, if you're from a successful marriage and you want to give some input on it, that's great. I think it's good. But if you're a single person and you're trying to tell a person about marriage and you've been divorced, like I said, 2 or 3 times, it doesn't make sense for me to take your advice. You can say, well, it took me 3 times to learn and now I've got it. It did? Really? I think I'd rather just listen to somebody who's been married once to the same person for 25 or 30 years. Now, that person, I value their advice because they're experienced. And now, what they know is marriage. The other person who's been married 2 or 3 times, what they know is divorce. And I can tell you all the ins and outs about it. But there's something going on in the black community because there's 70%, I think it is, that are unmarried black women. And the divorce rate is well over 50% in the black community. So there's something to think about. It has to be something going on there. And then you hear a lot of these women talk about a lot of black men now are marrying interracially, non-black women. And I hear this all the time. Say, oh, once he gets money, then he wants a non-black woman. Do you really think that it's only because he has money that he wants a non-black woman? Now, I have to say this because there's so many young women who didn't encounter a male figure in the household. And God forbid it was some uncle or some male figure who molested them while they were growing up. But for the most part, there are a lot of black women who didn't experience a loving father figure in the home growing up. So they have no real idea as to what a loving relationship is because maybe they saw their mom with different boyfriends and in and out of the house, you know. But what effect did that have on them to see that? You ever thought about that? As far as relationships go. So then when they meet a guy, and the guy is not looking for somebody who's kind of off, so to speak, as far as their interaction goes and their thoughts on relationships go, and it doesn't work out. Because women, unfortunately, some, I'm going to use this reverence phrase, not all, but some, they get hooked on sex in the black community. Because not all communities are like that. But in the black community, they get hooked on sex. Some. And then they get pregnant, the woman does. And then the guy, he probably just wanted her for sex. He wasn't really thinking about marrying her because, again, he probably came from a home where he didn't see a successful marriage. So he had no example of it. The only thing he saw was maybe men coming into his mom's house growing up, coming out the bedroom. So now, what do you think he's going to do after he grows up? Come out the bedroom of some woman's home or apartment. Doesn't mean that he's going to marry her. Because maybe during his lifetime, maybe he saw 3 or 4 different men in his mom's life. So that's all that he has to relate to. And then you think that he's supposed to be his good husband? Come on. Don't fool yourself. But again, I hear this thing about interracial dating, and the man, he's got money now. He doesn't want a non-black woman. He wants a white woman or Hispanic or some other race of woman. They don't want us because. But now, you went off and you put on all of this makeup. Then you had the breast implants. Then you had the weave or wigs or whatever. And now you want the man to say, okay, yeah, honey, I love you. Who are you closely trying to emulate? I want you to just think about that for just a minute. But back to this thing about women thinking that men, once they become successful, that they want a non-black woman. Just because that's what most of them see through the media. But let me just say this, because most successful men, what's more important to them is to have a woman who gives them very little to no stress. Because a guy who's busy, who's successful, who's running businesses, he doesn't want to come home to a stressful situation. He doesn't really want to deal with a stressful. He has already had enough stress on his hustle, on his work, on his job. So when he comes home, he doesn't want that. And I think a lot of times, some black women get it mixed up, thinking that, oh yeah, he doesn't want me because he wants a lighter complexion of a woman. That may be, but it could be also that he just wants to come home to a situation where he's not going to be stressed out. Stress is the number one killer of black men. It causes them to catch all types of diseases, breaks down their immune system. It's stress. You think he wants to come home to some woman who's going to be arguing with him and confrontational, challenging every move that he makes, questioning every move that he makes, telling him he's no good, criticizing him? Come on. Or does he want to come home to a woman who's meek, docile, who's there to cater to him, so to speak? And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, and she's submissive. She's not there to be combative. She's not there to be confrontational. She knows a man is stressed already. So she doesn't want to stress him anymore. What she wants to do is relieve that stress. Rub his shoulders. Rub his feet. Give him a massage, whatever. But no. Some women want it the other way around. They want the man to do all those things for them. Take care of them. After he's already had a stressful day. So no successful man, it has nothing to do with color. Let's just look at the successful men, period, around the world. Those women that they are with are not confrontational women. They're mostly women in the background. Not some boisterous, loud woman that's going to be confrontational. No. Look at the billionaires. They don't, those women that they married to are not those type women. Now, I will say this. There are a lot of, in the black community, now, a black man will sleep with a woman who's like that. That doesn't mean that he's going to marry her. Because in a lot of cases, the black woman is, she wants to be made to feel good. So if he makes her feel good in bed, hey man, look, she's great. She's okay. She's in love. But that's not always the case. But it is the case in a lot of situations. Whereas the non-black women are not so loud. They're not so confrontational. You know, they're meek. They know what it takes to make the relationship work without losing their own identity. So that's just a little food for thought. Because if you're one of those single women who's sitting around criticizing some man, saying he ain't this and he's not that and he need to do this and he needs to do that. And then you're saying, oh, now you want to go off and marry a Becky, so to speak, or some non-black woman, or you want to go overseas and find your woman. Even when guys go overseas, because see, in America, you're taught a different way of life as far as relationships go. And the woman's role, because now women can say, oh, I can do it all by myself. I don't really need a man. In other cultures, they don't think that way. You know, it's a privilege to be a wife. So while you may sit up and have your money and drive around in your expensive cars, the other women are married and happy. You come home to an empty house. Maybe you got $1 million home. Maybe you got a $500,000 home. Maybe you have your own home, your own cars. You have money in the bank. You graduated from college. You got your master's, your MBA, maybe even PhD. But what do you really have? Who did you do it for? Maybe you had 1 or 2 kids out of wedlock. No husband. So what are you? You doing it by yourself? Great, continue doing that by yourself. But those other women who are not like you, just the opposite, they're the ones who are going to have the husband, who's going to spend time with the husband, who's going to have a happy home, so to speak. And the husband's going to be less stressed out. Because you think it's because the man is successful. But it's really not. It's because the man just does not want a lot of stress in his relationship. So, just something to think about.